What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and it's time to have an old school Hollywood party with the final 2 episodes review and discussion of Apple TV Plus's breakout comedy hit, The Studio. I'm going to be one of your hosts for this episode. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Vinny Albano.
Hello.
And Michael Peniston.
What's up, everyone?
Guys, CinemaCon is approaching. We're a little late on this review. I know that the episodes came. I think the finale came out maybe a couple of weeks ago. But we've been busy over here at the Culture Wave Media Network, so thank you for joining us. We've loved this show throughout the entirety of the season.
Yes.
And it ends with a bang in a lot of different ways. We get a lot of callbacks to a lot of cameos that we saw previously. And it covers CinemaCon, which, for people who might not know what CinemaCon is, if you're just watching the studio because you like Seth Rogen and all that stuff, they kind of give you the lay of the land throughout the episodes. But it's kind of this Comic-Con for movie theater owners, essentially. They have previews for all of upcoming slates for every major studio, whether it's Universal and Disney and Sony. And they kind of give the theater owners a chance to see what they're investing in. How many theaters are they going to put the new Dune movie on? How many screens are they going to give an A24 movie? Things like that. And obviously the show is as meta can get. And these 2 episodes do a great job of letting the hilarity sort of grow the same way that the series has. So, Vinny, quick overall thoughts, broad thoughts, I should say, on the final 2 episodes of The Studio.
Yeah, like every episode we've covered thus far, loves it. It was so funny. It's so epic of a conclusion. You know, this is the first 2-parter in the season so far. Well, now it's the end, but in the series so far. And it's so funny. Bryan Cranston comes back for an epic return. And I like how I've been stating in the previous episodes, that this series not only does such a good job doing the comedy, but structuring a really well-made script, and on top of that, very well-made filmmaking amongst a ridiculous concept with some ridiculous guest cameos. Zoe Kravitz and Dave Franco in this are amazing. And yeah, those are my broad thoughts. Michael?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like these last 2 were just the epitome of how crazy this can really get as far as, you know, the industry. It was so funny. The character performances were just like outrageous. You know, everyone, like you brought up the guest cameos. They all, I feel like, delivered perfectly. Some of the best performance, at least I've seen, particularly out of Dave Franco. I was a big fan of his performance. But again, it was just really cool, to see this side of the industry. I know that this is like a very big thing that goes on. So to be able to see both the on-stage presence, but also then the behind-the-scenes presence was just really cool. So I enjoyed both of these.
Yeah. And so you already brought up Bryan Cranston. You brought up Dave Franco. I'll also bring up Zoe Kravitz, because I think for episode 9, which is titled CinemaCon, though obviously our main cast is filled with MVPs throughout the whole season, but the 3 of them make this episode so great because they all go on these really ridiculous mushroom trips, and I believe it's mushrooms, right? Or is it weed?
Yeah.
That's in the and they're all unique. They're all very individual to whether it's a hypercharged version of who they are as people and their characters in the show, and they're all laugh out loud funny for different reasons. Zoe Kravitz doesn't want to necessarily be at the party in general. She just probably is looking for something to eat. She goes, I can't sleep, so I'm just and she indulges in some chocolates that she thinks are normal, and they're microdosed with tons and tons and tons of mushrooms, so much so that she won't even get off of her dresser because she thinks it's way too high up comparatively to the bedroom. Dave obviously goes out of his mind. He's getting the shit kicked out of him, and he's still walking out on stage and making it a part of his performance, which we see in the presentation. But Bryan Cranston, which you brought up, Vinny, has been my favorite character throughout the whole series. And I think it's because Griffin Mill as a character. I don't know if it's Mill or Mills, but that character is so out of touch with reality, and he literally becomes the walking embodiment of like Weekend at Bernie's, where they have to literally drag him around Las Vegas to get him to get on stage and make this announcement. And I think the physical comedy that Cranston does while he's getting dragged away, falling into boats, doing all these crazy things, just exemplifies what this show could be at its peak. You know, like what they're able to do with episode 9, which might be my favorite episode of the series. It's up there for me. We see just that character go down this crazy pathway of hijinks with nacho cheese and admitting that he's 80 years old instead of 60. Like, there's so much into it that I think is so great. What did you love about those three in particular, Vinny, that they're able to kind of do with those bigger cameos that they have throughout the series?
Yeah, I mean, I love how the writers involve the cameos in such like integral parts of the plots, and all the little jokes, like you mentioned the nacho cheese, how so little that is, but it plays into the cameo and it plays into the plot. Like, it's like he's leaving a blood trail behind.
With nacho cheese.
Yeah, and they're like hound dogs trying to track him down. It's so funny. And I just like, yeah, that's really my biggest claim to the use of cameos is how effective they use them. It's not just like, oh, I know that guy. No, like they're really playing into the plot and the humor here. And it's so unique with who they are. Like, I feel like if it was a different actress and not Zoe Kravitz, but you kept the same dialogue and the same jokes, it doesn't work. Which is so it's very consciously picked and written for them. And that's so it's nice to see.
Yeah, for sure. Michael?
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like what this whole series has done so far with these cameos, every episode that we've gotten, you're seeing sides of these actors that you don't typically see in the film. Just like thinking back to like, because I was off of a couple of episodes, so just like thinking back to like, I think I was on the Olivia Wilde episode, but like a performance like that, and then like, what's it called? The director, I forgot, who like freaked out on Seth Rogen.
In The Oner?
Yeah.
Sarah Polly?
It wasn't Sarah Polly, no, it was the guy, the one with
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, yes.
Yeah.
And so like just offsetting performances like that, and so to get every performance that we got from all three of these actors, or it set the stage so much more in these 2 episodes, I guess you could say. What's it called? There was another piece I was going to bring up. If it comes back to me at some point in this conversation, I'll bring it back up. But I feel like it was so effective with this. It just added to again the stakes that were going on, that they were just kind of adding to themselves. And it's so funny because throughout the entirety of the show, it's always been just Seth Rogen's character just kind of like putting all of these characters in these situations, and so everything that happened was fully on them. It was just funny to see it play out, and then to have these characters. I'm such a big fan of Dave Franco in this. I'm gonna bring him up again, just because it's something that you wouldn't see that typically from something like him, and he's just so off of like the rails, just having fun, you could tell. And so yeah, it was just, again, it was very effective, I thought.
Yeah, the writers play into it too, like even with Dave Franco, like the fact that he tries to win money illegally by doing his "Now You See Me" trick at the poker table.
That was so funny. I love how he comes back and he's just covered in blood. And also a little detail I love is he's covered in blood. He's like, I got this. And if you read the he's not saying a single word on that teleprompter. He's completely just going off the cuff. And they're convinced because, Alphabet City.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so funny.
I think that the CinemaCon sequence is like the unsung hero of this season, because the fact that every single person, until we get to a certain point, just handles it perfectly is so crazy that they get that like beautiful fate until Cranston shows up and he's like, movies. That's all you can say. It's just great. That whole, like, the setting of CinemaCon is so poetic in so many ways because this show is so meta, but it's almost like the writers are in on it with you. You know, like every single time you're going week to week, they're playing into the tropes of the things that, if you know anything about the industry, it's so many things that play into, like, even I remember it was like that one episode where they brought in Chase Sui Wonders' character. It might be the episode you love with the quesarito.
Yeah, the war.
Yeah, where they bring in like that really super indie like director who's done a couple of like movies, and now they're getting like bigger projects, and she's like, yeah, they're a really great up and comer, but then Ike Barinholtz' character is working with the Ron Howards of the world, and all these other people. He's like, nobody gives a shit about this guy, and it's like that plays into those real meetings and those real interactions that people are having throughout the series. Kathryn O'Hara is another one for me that I thought was great in this episode, and her trying to walk that balance. And I do love the relationship that she has with Matt, Seth Rogen's character, because he ultimately kind of fucked her over because he took her job, but at the same time he loves her so much that he gives her the opportunities to become a producer at the studio, and she's still trying to fuck over Griffin Mill, which I think played really well. What were some other standout moments for you, Vinny, in the final two episodes?
Some standout moments off the top of my head. Everything with Zoe Kravitz I really liked. Like you said, Kathryn O'Hara, I love that all her moments I really enjoy, but not really through a comedic lens, which is interesting enough because Kathryn O'Hara is one of the greatest comedy actresses of our generation. And yet she's here to be the anchor point. Because if you don't have her, then it's just like a bunch of ridiculous, like, it could get too much, right? Where it's like you just have a bunch of ridiculous personalities and comedians. But Kathryn O'Hara is the anchor point to like the actual plot. And I enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed like going back to just how well structured the screenplay is and how she's the one to rat out Miles, right? Or Mills' character. Stuff like that. Those were standout moments to me. When it comes to jokes, I'm trying to think in these last two episodes. Oh, wait. We have to talk about the very end. They set up the Kool-Aid Man to come down on the wires. And it's just like a complete surprise of just having Bryan Cranston falling down from the wires. I thought that was so funny.
And Kathryn Hahn playing into it, being like, let me just take care of it. Yeah. Don't worry. And then as Matt's walking off stage to see where he is, she just goes. It's like those little moments that just make the comedy play so well. Michael?
I'm trying to think about just like little specific, because there's so much happens now that you like think about it. But I'm trying to think. I know that for me, I just really like the small bits that you got throughout Vegas with Bryan Cranston, where like he would just be with ordinary people. Like there's like an ice cream scene where he's like, really, this is what I think when they finally find him. And like the way that they're able to like stage these scenes, probably on like literally shooting in Vegas in these casinos and all these places. Like it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. The cinematography throughout all of this season has just been incredible, and this just matched it. I'm trying to think about the like jokes and like specific just the whole, like every time you cut backstage in that last episode where they would come up, and I think it's really cool the way that they did do the actors in this, because it kind of does kind of play into the idea that they're actors, like this is what they do for a living. It's like they just like they're natural, they kind of put themselves into these positions and but then for them to kind of go right back into where they were was just so funny. And like David Krumholtz, that's how you say his name, right?
David Krumholtz,
he's just also been like an all-star character, I feel like, when he does appear in this. And so to have him in that midst back there with as like the agent role with the other agent, I forgot her name as well, but it was just so funny to have all these characters in this midst. I think it's really cool I didn't realize that Seth Rogen, it seems like a lot of the people that were in this are people that have worked with Seth Rogen on like previous productions. At the end of this episode 10, it immediately went into like another Apple TV show where it was directed by Nick Fuller, and like Seth was acting in it, which I had no idea was even a thing. But it's cool to then see like, oh, okay, then like you even had Nick Fuller in that midst now doing the reverse, Seth kind of directing him, and like he even put himself into the character every time he was on screen. And so it just, I don't know, it was just it was really good.
It's a perfect mixture. I think that it's one of those series where Apple is going to be really pleased with what they have on their hands, because I think this is a show that can literally run for as long as they want it to. And I think it's just going to get better. I think that the show has really, really great highs. I think personally, I feel like I'm probably in them, at least in terms of the three of us. I think some of the middle gets a little too convoluted, and I'm like, I get what they're trying to go for, but the episodes aren't as strong. I think the top of the season and the bookend of the season are like unbelievable. Like, I think the pilot episode is great. The Wonder episode is so good, and wrapping up and seeing kind of how all these other episodes throughout the season lead to where we get to with the Alphabet City, like the Silver Lakes, and we see like the mini previews for them and the poster boards, and it kind of immerses you into this universe, their own version of Hollywood, which I think is so great. But I'm not sure if there's anything else we have to talk about in terms of the actual episodes, unless either of you guys had anything. If not, we can jump into scores.
No, I think just what the show does so well and why it's hard to almost pinpoint specific bits and jokes that are like our favorites is that the whole 2 episodes or the whole episode is a joke.
Yeah.
And it just like plays into one of it. It just goes on and on and on and on. Like it just plays into each other rather than just being like a bunch of different little like, okay, here's one sketch, here's another sketch. And I think that's to the benefit of the show because it's so energetic. The show is constantly moving. We talked about this on previous episodes, how the filmmaking plays into that energetic nature. It's all handheld. It's all like long takes. It's going, moving. Yeah, this studio it's a gem. I think it's an underrated gem on streaming right now.
Yeah, it's really fun. Michael?
Yeah. I know. I feel like this show needs more appreciation. Honestly, a lot of Apple TV shows aren't getting as much appreciation as they should. And Severance is kind of opening the door to that a little bit more with the wave that it's brought in. But this show is just so, to me, this was probably one of my favorite shows of this year so far. Again, it really hit home as far as what we don't really get to see.
Oh yeah.
But still also bringing in such a good form of comedy. You know, it's just like Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg have never really gone wrong with their comedy sense, like since the beginning stages of their, like all the way back to Superbad. But like, again, this is just so refreshing. It's mature too, you know, to a sense. It's Superbad, but if like, I don't know, it just feels like Seth Rogen has been in the industry for a while, and it feels like he's the one to be telling these episodes and this, right? There was a shot again, and I just really want to give praise again to the cinematography in this show. Like, I remember, I know we talked about it in one episode, but I got to see it behind the scenes of a previous episode where it was like a drone shot into a car shot, and it was like the way that they did it, and they moved, like the whole mechanism of it was just so smooth, and it was crazy. And the 10th episode and that last kind of moment where they're praising where everyone's like going like, movie, the chant, the whole scene, there's a crazy shot where it like zooms out onto the audience and goes around, and like little things like that. I'm like, first, how the hell did they do that? But also like, wow, like everything about this is just so cinema, you know? And so that's all I have really left to say.
I do love that you get that full circle moment with Matt at the end too, where you have that bigger sort of scope of this room being filled with movie lovers, and then you zoom into his face and the confetti's falling, and he's just, for the first time all season, it actually feels like he's happy for the fate of movies coming off of where you think Continental is going to be sold to Amazon too. So it plays into that a lot. It's a really good show. It's one of the better comedic television series on right now. I think that it's really just that they're going to just keep improving
Yeah.
from here. I think it's one of those shows where like it's going to keep getting smarter with the comedy. They're going to get even better and crazier cameos, but we're still going to have that foundation of the characters we love. And I love that Chase Sui Wonders and Ike Barinholtz, who are really great, like supporting comedy actors and supporting actors in general, are getting kind of a time to shine along with some of these other actors in the roles that they're in.
Yeah.
So we all really enjoyed the series from the beginning. We've been talking about it week to in different kind of installments, but you guys can go back and check out all the episodes. But it is time for scores. So Vinny, you can start us off.
I'm gonna give the Studio Season 1 a solid 8.5.
Okay.
Okay.
Michael?
I was a big fan of this. I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Wow.
Ooh.
Okay, I am the same as Vinny. I'm going to give it an 8.5 just for the case that I think that it still has a little bit of room to grow. And I think that it will. I think that by the time we're talking about next season, I'm going to be like, I'm so happy the show is back and that they're doing it bigger and better because it is the talk of the town and it's what everybody is looking forward to. So we hope that you guys have enjoyed the ride with us of the studio week to week. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Did you guys enjoy the show as much as we did? Who are some of your favorite cameos of the season? What did you think about the wrap up to the season 1? Who are some cameos that you want to see going forward? That'd be a fun conversation to have in the comments. So leave those comments below. Hit that subscribe button. You can check out all the other stuff that we cover. We cover pretty much anything and everything in film and television. You guys can check out on the page. There's a huge rundown. There's too many things that we're covering right now. And thank you to everybody that joins us every week to check out all the things we have. We just basically got to our 2-year anniversary of Culture Wave. So thank you guys. If you've been subscribers from the beginning, we really appreciate it. And you guys can see all our other stuff on social media if you guys want to. All that stuff is below me in the video. It's also in our YouTube description. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Threads, we're on Facebook, a bunch of places. And we got a lot more stuff coming for you guys. So tune in for that. Just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Vinny Albano.
And I'm Michael Peniston.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.